This is my video on using PyQT5. I'll be showing you guys how to start from the installation of the designer itself all the way to designing and implementing the user interface into your Python program. So this is just a brief intro into what PyQT5 is. So it's basically a cross-platform library that allows you to create um, applications. So these can be mobile applications and desktop applications. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be using PyQt5 to create a desktop application. And it has a lot of different features to it. Um, so this is the user interface that we will be creating today. It's obviously not a great interface, but it highlights the basics of how to use PyQt5. Regardless of whether you're on Mac or Windows, the first thing you guys are going to do is open up your terminal if you're on a Mac and command prompt if you're on a Windows. In your command prompt, you will type one of the following. So if you're on Mac, regardless of Mac or Windows, you will type one of these two statements. So first try pip3 install pyqt5. If that doesn't work, pip install pyqt5. This is just installing the package itself. Now to actually install the designer file, this command only works on Windows. So if you're on Windows, then you can type one of these. So pip3 install pyqt5-tools or pip install pyqt5-tools. Try one of those. If you're on a Mac, you have to go online and search up for the designer file download. I'll be showing that link. If you're on a Mac, you have to go to this website qt.io/download. Click download on the top right. So you're going to choose the commercial version and then click try free. Once you fill out all of your information, you should get an email. From there, it'll send you to this link. So for me, I've already passed my trial period, so it doesn't provide a download link, but it should provide it underneath here. Once you download it, I wouldn't add any of the add-ons. I think you can just download the library itself, and then without any extra packages. Once you have that, you should have a application that looks like this Qt Designer. This is just a sample design. So if you were on Windows, you would have run one of these two commands, these pip installs. This will install your designer file. Once you install your designer file on Windows, it gets installed to a specific path. For most of you guys, it'll be this path. So you can, obviously, if you're on Windows, it's something like cd app data, and then you just keep going, local programs. You can actually do that directly from your command prompt right when it starts up. And then you just keep going, Python 36-32. But if you have a different installation for Python, you just have to find wherever this is located. So if you didn't follow the default installation, by default it should install to this location. However, if you have a different path, you just have to find where this is located and then enter your lib site packages, go to pyqt5-tools. Once you cd into this directory, then you just run this command designer.exe, and then your designer should pop up. After creating your designer file, the first thing you can do is just open it up, and then at the top click File, New, and then you can choose any of these. For my video, I'm going to stick with dialogue, so I'll just choose the first one, click Create, and I have my dialogue. So what I'm going to do now is first, I'm going to go to View and then show my widget box. I'm going to show my object inspector. I'm also going to show my property editor. So there's many different widgets that you can use in PyQt5. I usually stick with 4. These are combo boxes, plain text edit, and push button. The reason being is that PyQt5 still doesn't have too much documentation. So I find these easier to use and better documented. And I'll get into these two a little later. So the advantages of using the designer file in PyQT5 is that you don't have to write the code to actually design this. You can use this very user-friendly interface, which allows you to drag and drop your widgets. And then after you're done, you can save it and then convert this to Python code using a command. So first, I'm going to add some of these widgets. So I'll add a combo box right here. Another one that you should use is a label. So let's say I label this numbers. So really the widgets that you use depend on what sort of application that you want to create. In this video, I'm just creating a very simple application, and the purpose of the video really is just to show how you can use some of the different widgets, how you can convert it to Python code, and also how you can create multiple different windows inside your application. And of course, lastly, how you can implement this designer file into your Python program. So after that, I'll create a text edit right here. So this gets into my next point, is that if you are collecting text from the user, you should use a plain text edit. If you're setting text on your user interface, you should use a text edit. So here I'm putting my text edit, and then I'll put a push button down here which will set text. This is not a great interface, but I'm just showing a few things for the purpose of the demo. I would definitely do a lot more research into how to style your interface if you're looking to publish this. So for example, I had one here. So this is a pretty decent one. It has a background color, and it's still very simple, obviously, and it's not completely finished with the design, but you can resize your interface if you want to, and is very user friendly. If you want to add a background color, you right click it, change style sheet, background color, and then you can choose whatever you like. So I'll choose that, and it turns blue. I'm going to keep it the grayish color. So after this, what I'll do is place a plain text edit onto my interface, and then so this is where the user is going to input some sort of text. So maybe I'll label it enter your text, and then underneath this I will display text. And because I'm displaying the text, I'm going to put this into a text edit. And then I'll put a button. Set text. So there's a few things going on. So you can actually delete this if you don't need it. So here I'm going to collect text from a plain text edit. And another thing you can do is, if you want to make sure that you have the correct widgets, when you click it in your object inspector, you'll see it says Q plain text edit or push button or whatever it is. This one is a text edit, so text edit 2. It's important to know these names because this is important in actually creating or implementing this into your Python program. I have a button here, another button here. So the last thing I'm going to do is add a push button here, move to next window. The purpose of this button is to, once I click this, it'll open a new window. So obviously, in any sort of application, maybe you'll have a home page or a login page, or register page. So you have multiple pages that you need to go to. Once you finish designing one of your interfaces, then the next thing you want to do is save it. So I would save it all. Everything should be saved to one folder. All of your work for one project should be in the same folder. So all my Python code is going to go here, all my UI files, and any other files that have to do with this project. So I would just create a separate folder, and then I'll call this home page. So I'll save it, and then the next thing I'm going to do is just create another page, just because I want to be able to show how to open a new window. So I'll click File, New again, and then same thing, create. This time I'll just put one label, maybe. That's pretty much it. So I'll just put a label and then call this second page. So another thing is that you guys can design even your widgets. So if I right click my widget, change style sheet, add font, you can make this bigger or smaller, change the font of it to whatever you like. So I'll change this to maybe Georgia. And so you can do this for all of your, even your buttons and combo boxes, whatever else you need. So now the next thing I'm going to do is just save this. So I'll save to the same folder that I had. So both of my UI files are now saved into the same folder in my desktop. So the folder in my desktop is called Qt interface. So I'll be CDing into that location. Whatever your folder is called and wherever you saved it to, you're going to be CDing into that location. So open your terminal or your command prompt, whatever you use, CD, for me, desktop. And then the folder on my desktop is called Qt interface. Now that I'm in there, I can run a command to convert both of these into Python code. So I'll type it here. So PyQT5 homepage.ui homepage.py. This will convert this UI file that I designed here into Python code. So let me paste it here so you guys can see it. Alright, so all in one line, PyQT5. If you see any error, it's likely that you are not in the correct location, or you did not pip install PyQT5. So as you guys can see here in my desktop, I have a folder called Qt interface. And now after I've run this PyQt command, I have a homepage.py. So so obviously in this command it's PyQt5, whatever your UI file is called, and then you convert it. It can be any name for the Python file. It doesn't have to be the same name. So if I open my Python file, then I'll see that this is the Python code that was generated. And it's very important to understand this code because you need to reference this Python file when implementing this code into your Python project. So I'll get into this a little later. First, what I have to do is, if I go back here, I see I only have one Python file. I need to convert my other page to a Python file as well. So I'm going to go here, run the same command, except change this to second page, and then second page .py. And then now I see a second Python file is generated. I'm going to open this up, and then I can see that I have I have this Python code. So at this point, you guys have your two UI files and your two Python files. So what you guys are going to do now is open a new file, and you're going to copy these 4 lines at the top, these import statements, and copy these 4 at the bottom. The purpose of the last 4 lines is to run your page, run your implementation page. So after that, you're going to create a class. You can call it whatever you like. Pass in QDialog. In your init method, you're going to call your super function. Obviously, call the super class. The main page here is going to be the same as here. So whatever you titled your class is going to go out here. And then you're going to load the UI file that you want to connect to this page. So there's two ways of doing this. Next part, it's one way is that you can go to your designer file. So basically, the first thing I want to implement into this home page is that when I click this button, it takes text from this plain text edit and then sets it to this text edit. So you have to look at the names for these. So in this case, I can look here and see that the name for this button is called push button 2. If I don't have access to this UI file, you can also open up your code itself. So if I go to the homepage code, you can see in the setup, it has all of the widgets that you have. So the names are right here. It's a little easier to decipher through in the second function because here it actually it sets the text of each of the widgets. So you can look here. So the one that says set text is called push button. So well, there's actually two that say set text, but with lowercase t here. This one is called push button 2. This one is called push button. So for this one, the button that is associated with the name that's associated with this button is called push button _ 2. So that's very important so that you know what you're attaching to what. So this is called push button 2. I can see here that it says set text. So I'm going to say self.pushbutton2.click.connect, and then here the parameter is the function that you want to attach to clicking this button. So the function that I'm going to create is called retrieve text, and then I'm going to pass in self. So now in here there's multiple things that are going on. So let me write attaching a function to a button in your interface. So now in this function, the first thing I want to do is take text from this plain text edit and then set it to this text edit. So first I have to get the text from this plain text edit. So from the UI I can see it's called plain text edit. From here it's a little harder because the text boxes don't actually have, there's no text that's being set to it. So you kind of have to look through this part here to see what it's called. And in this case it's easy because there's only one plain text edit. But if you have multiple plain text edits, then you kind of need to try each one out and see which one is the correct one if you don't have access to the UI. So I'm going to create a variable called words equals self.plainTextEdit.toPlainText. And then what I'm going to do now is, so I have this variable from here, and now I want to display it into this text edit, which is called TextEdit2, TextEdit2. So like I said before, if you want to collect text from the user, you should collect it from a plain text edit. If you want to set text, you should set it to a text edit. So now I say self.textEdit2.setText words. So anything in PyQT5, whatever you're collecting, setting, everything has to be a string. So let's say I collect words, and I collect it and I do some sort of math operation on it. So I have to do like words equals float words, right? Then I have to convert it back to a string when setting it. I would have to say str words. In this case, I'll just collect both as a string, or yeah, I'll just assume that it's going to be a string. So now I'm going to run this code. So another very important thing is that you have to save this in the same folder as your Qt interface or wherever all of your existing files are located. Otherwise, it won't be able to load this homepage.ui. So now I'm going to first save it there, and I'm going to run it. So now if I enter 20, set text, it is 20. So, or I say hello, hello. So now let's say I want to collect, like I want to say um, hello and then whatever the text that was inputted. So let's do words2 equals hello plus words. And in this case, words2 is a string, so that's fine. I don't have to convert it. And then I'll do the same thing. So that's the text. So now this is collecting a string and collecting a string from a plain text edit. So now if I want to collect a float from plain text edit, it's going to be very similar to what I just showed you before, or actually the exact same thing. So a number equals self.plain text edit dot to plain text, number equals float number self.text edit to dot set text number, so let's float number times 2, and then I'll say str number. So now if I comment this out, and then I enter 40, 80.0. So it's very simple in terms of collecting from a plain text edit and then setting to a text edit. So now the next thing we're going to do is take text from this combo box and then set it to this text edit upon clicking this button. So previously what we did was we took text from the text edit, set it to this plain text edit, or sorry, we took text from the plain text edit and then set it to the text edit. So what this will entail is calling the function before attaching it to a button, right? Because you want to fill up the combo box right when the user starts up their application. You don't want to click a button and then fill up the combo box, unless that's what you want to do. But in most cases, you want the data to be there, and then you want the user to start the app. So let me first, I'm going to create a function. So I'll say x equals self.fill combo box. And then I'll create a function. So def fill combo box, pass in self. So let's say in this case, I just want to fill up the combo boxes with the numbers from 1 to 100. So I'm going to do this. So I'll create a loop for I in range 1, 101, and then self dot. So now I have to look up what this is called. So this, as I can see, it's combo box from here, and then in here I can see combo box. Okay, so now self.combo box.add item stri. So I'm going to run this, and then I can see that the data has been filled up with the numbers from 1 to 100. So it's very easy to use. This is one case. If I want to take, let's say I create a list of cities. So I'll say cities equals New York, and then San Francisco, say LA, Chicago. Alright, so now for x in cities, self.combo box.add item str, or I don't know, it's already a string anyways, so I can just add item x. And you have these 4 options right here. So I've written the code for the next part, which is to take text from the combo box and then set it to this text edit. So obviously these parts of the init function, they only get called once the buttons have been clicked, right? So this is obviously, you can think of this as like the main method for this class. Um, this is the first thing the program executes when it starts up. So, but these parts don't like these only execute if they're clicked. So in this case, self.pushButton, push button is this button right here. Self.pushButton.click connect self.takes text, which is my function right here. So right now I'm just printing the current text for the combo box. So let's say x equals self dot. Now if I want to set the text, self.textEdit, what is it? Self.textEdit dot set text x, and then let's run this. So now I can see that the text has been set to this text edit. All right, so the last part of this is just basically creating a new class. So if you guys remember, we have one home page here, another page here, and we're using this button to connect us to this page. So the first thing you guys have to do is create a new Python file and then add the 4 import statements, and then the same as usual, you're going to create your class name and then initialize it, load the user interface. But this time you're not going to include these lines. The reason is you can delete these because you're actually going to run this class from your home page. So I'll explain what's going on. So first, you have, so the file name doesn't have to be the same name as the class name. So you can call this something else. File, save as, and then I'm going to save it to my Qt interface. So again, everything goes in the same folder. I'll replace this. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back. So I already wrote the code for this part. The button for this is called push button 3, self.pushbutton3.click.connect self.move. So what I'm doing here is I'm from the file name other page, I'm importing the class name second page. So I'm importing the class, I'm creating a object set to that, and then the most important line is this line right here where you're actually executing that class. So now when I run this, I'll see that when I click this, the second dialog pops up.